over the Christmas break, I took some time off and I got caught up on some games. And so one of the games that I was really looking forward to and finally finished was Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 is a well-received game, and certainly there's a lot of interesting things you can talk about. Many people say it's a very great feeling action game, which I would agree. Many people would say, like, oh, it's sexist and, male glaze and whatnot, but, I mean, I don't know, the character design of Bayonetta is so weird and, like, stretched out and misproportioned. I don't really think she works as a sex symbol. But, I mean, certainly I like her personality, and I like the stories, even though they're absolutely ridiculous and insane. I don't know, it always puts a smile on my face. But I think what's most interesting to talk about is the elements of Bayonetta that aren't action. And it's very interesting because I can't remember when Bayonetta 1 came out, but I, pre-ordered it, got it as soon as it came out, was really into it. And then the thing that I remembered was non-stop action. And so when I played Bayonetta 2, I was like, oh, why is there all this not action? And then I remembered, oh yeah, Bayonetta 1 was like that. And I think that in and of itself is an interesting thing to look at, is the genre of a game, sort of almost the fusion of genres of games and the competing game mechanics. So obviously, Bayonetta has a very great feeling combat system. I mean, personally, I really like it, and I'm a button masher. I'm really bad at games. I'm really bad at the witch time dodge. I'm really bad at all of that. But, like, I just mash buttons in Bayonetta, and I kick ass. Like, oh my gosh, cool stuff happens on the screen, which is why, like, in fighting games, I'm really bad at fighting games, but I really love them, in theory, at least, until I play them and then cry. But, one of my favorite series is the Marvel vs. Capcom games, because you mash like crazy and just amazing stuff happens. And that, in and of itself, is a really good feeling. And certainly, I mean, if you look in the context of Bayonetta, it's hard to do. There's a ton of animations for Bayonetta, and then her clothes fall off because they're made out of hair and turn into a hair demon or giant boot, or like, I mean, there's just a lot of crazy work that went into, creating that type of a combat mechanic, and that sort of enjoyable of a combat mechanic. And certainly you can have like an indie type fighting game with a limited moveset. But like imagining creating something that has the crazy amount of moves and combos and weapons and stuff that Bayonetta has, and having these amazing animations. Just, I mean, the amount of effort for a small team is mind-boggling. Certainly, having 1,000 animations for your player character is, I think, more or less business as usual in a lot of AAA productions. But so certainly I respect the effort that went into that. But getting back to my point is that Bayonetta has a lot of slow-mo moments and a lot of, I mean, like the cutscenes, there's a lot of cutscenes, but some of the cutscenes are this weird sort of comic booky, partially animated, partially not thing, which I think was a weird design choice, and personally I think it seems like it only exists to, cut down on budgets, but certainly it was nice that they animated them a little, but they're kind of weird, I mean, in that they're mostly static and they don't have lips moving, but I mean, those cutscenes can be, a huge amount of work. I mean, you gotta wonder what Microsoft paid Blur Studios to do all the Halo 2 cutscenes over again, I would expect, especially at that, level of visual fidelity, it's millions of dollars. So certainly I can't begrudge them for that, but I think even besides the sort of slow pace of the storytelling and that sort of thing, there's a lot of moments where it's sort of exploration. You have to walk around to find the next arena, and then once you start that arena, then you pick up a fight, and it's sort of, I don't know if it quite constrains your character. I think sometimes they do constrain your character with a barrier, so you can't just run by the combat segment and skip it. But I think it's sort of interesting to think about it, because, I think it would be difficult to imagine a game that is just non-stop fighting all of the time. Certainly, like, if you look at a game like God of War, which obviously has a lot of fighting, there's slower moments and puzzle sections, and you look at, like, a game like Uncharted, there's the platforming, the climbing and all that stuff, there's the puzzles, and then there's the, cover-based shooting. And I think it's difficult to do a game that's just one thing. Like, even Call of Duty, which, there's not many points in the game where you're not shooting things. I think they punctuate it with a lot of, other things, like, honestly, the only Call of Duty game I played is Ghosts, but in Ghosts, I remember, there was, like, a tank thing, and a helicopter thing, or a jet thing, or these other things that were pretty cool, and also, there's, like, rappelling, and there's all these other things, and I think, if they had just created a game that is sort of just one sort of mechanic and just one sort of hook, it might not be as good. But the real question is, like, you look at Bayonetta, and the platforming is pretty good, but it's really simple. I don't think it's meant to be a challenge. And the exploration, you can find some extra side quests, for fighting these things in Muselheim or something like that, and extra currency for purchasing your costumes or something, or extra moves, and finding the records, which I never found all of them are. But anyway, I think that almost having these other things help with pacing, and I feel like if Bayonetta were all combat all the time, well, it would be a couple hours long, and also I think you would grow tired of it, and it wouldn't be as cool. And so, certainly we tried to have variety in Neverending Nightmares. Some segments are just walking, there's the sort of stealth enemy encounters, there's, running from enemies and various things. In general, we tried to have a sort of a purity of mechanics and try and keep a very simple, the game simple mechanically. And obviously, we don't want that to be seen as a negative thing, but it certainly, Bayonetta made me realize that, having more variety maybe isn't the worst thing in the world, which, I don't know if next game will have variety. I don't know if that really meets the design goals I have for the next project, but I think it's interesting to think about is look at how you spend your time in any game and see what sort of mechanics are at play. And I wish I had almost had a stopwatch of the, times fighting versus times not fighting in Bayonetta. And I suspect, even though Bayonetta seemed like is this amazing action game, a lot of time probably more of the time is spent not fighting, at least maybe for me. So I think that in and of itself is sort of an interesting revelation, and I'm not sure how I'm going to apply it to my own work, but I think there's definitely, pacing and being all of one thing all of the time is a challenge, and certainly I think Alien Isolation is an interesting game to look at, because I think they didn't compromise their gameplay mechanics for the most part. They committed and went all in on the mechanics. But I think, because the game is so long, it got tiresome, and they had to try and mix it up in ways that I personally wasn't happy with, and certainly, spoiler alert, I wasn't a fan of the robots, which I guess isn't a spoiler, but what I was going to say is the end with the multiple aliens, I was like... And also, I completely couldn't stand the face huggers, because they were like insta-kills. But, I mean, maybe the secret is, if you're going to try and create a really pure game, like maybe something like Journey, it's best to keep it, short. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Bayonetta and game genres.